Okay, this is the third part of the 6.1a Properties of Exponents lesson. And this time I'm going to talk about this rule, power of a product. Now we've got something a little bit different from the other two cases. We've got, asked to simplify again, 3x to the third power. So we've got something inside here, 3x, and we're taking that to the third power. Well, let's do the same method we've been using all along, which is to break it down. What does this mean? Well, 3x to the third power should be 3x times itself 3 times, right? 3x times 3x times 3x. And something to keep in mind is that 3x is, of course, is just 3 times x. So 3 times x times 3 times x times 3 times x, right? So we've got, this is what we've got. All right, so how does this work? 3x squared equals, I'm going to do it like this. 3 times x times 3 times x times 3 times x. Okay, why did I do it like that? Well, this is clearly what we've got. We did the same thing as we had up here, right? All right, we're on the same page now. Now remember, the thing with multiplication is it doesn't matter what order we multiply in. 2 times 5 is the same as 5 times 2, and so on. So I can rearrange these factors however I want. The order is not going to make any difference. So what I'm going to do is put all the 3's together, and then I'm going to put all the x's together. All right, so 3 times 3 times 3, x times x times x. All right, well, what do we have here now? Okay, well, we got 3 times 3 times 3. What is that? That's 3 times itself 3 times, or 3 to the third power. And then we've got x times x times x. What is that? Well, it's x times itself 3 times, which is x to the third power. Oh, look at that. So what did we do? We started with this thing, 3x to the third power. We end up with this, which is basically just taking this third power up on the outside and applying it to everything inside the parentheses, almost like the distributive property, but not the distributive property, so don't get yourself confused there, but it's similar. All right, the general rule we get here is that x times y in parentheses to the nth power is going to be the same as x to the nth power times y to the nth power. Okay, let's see how that works. We try it out. Start with the first example. 2x in parentheses to the third power. Well, I've got 2, according to my rule, I should have 2 to the third power and x to the third power. Okay, well then 2 to the third, I can also just rewrite that. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So I end up with 8x to the third power. Again, if you get confused, think it out. Don't memorize. Just try thinking it out. You've got 2x cubed. That means I'll have 2x and 2x and 2x. So I've got 1, 2, 3 2's. That gives me the 2 cubed. And I've got 1, 2, 3 x's. And that gives me the x cubed. All right, let's look at the little more complicated case. X squared y, parentheses, to the third power. Well, it should work the same way. We've got x squared, and we want that to go to the third power. I'm going to put the parentheses there just because otherwise the exponents start to look a little weird, but it doesn't matter, just for making it easier to understand what we're saying. And then y to the third power, right? I've applied this third power to each thing, first to the x squared and then to the y. Okay, now we can use that last rule we learned, the power of a power rule, because we've got x squared to the third power. We know from that rule that that's going to be x to the sixth. 2 times 3 is going to give us 6. And again, if we forget, we just say, well, x squared to the third, that means x squared times x squared times x squared. So altogether, I'll have 2 plus 2 plus 2, 6x's. Okay? And then that y cubed comes along for the ride. So x squared y parentheses to the third power is equal to x to the sixth times y to the third. All right, last case here, we can work with numbers just as well as we can work with variables, but we can do the same thing. We'll take this 2 that's on the outside, the second power, and apply it to each thing inside. Well, 4 to the second power, and it'll also give us x cubed to the second power. Again, I'm going to use the parentheses. 4 squared is 16, and x cubed squared, same thing, power of a power. 3 times 2 is 6, so we get 16x to the sixth. All right, so that's our rule. Power of a product, xy to the n power equals x to the n times y to the n.